Live, so if I press this button.
Hi, everybody. Because we are live, I see the live button.
That was
the
loud.
countdown.
There we go.
No bad words now. We're in the bad word free zone.
Bad words moments, yes. If you are watching, I've got it so there's the 5-minute countdown, so we'll have a 5-minute kind of getting everyone technically sorted. Katrina has disappeared. I think she's gone to get a cup of tea as well.
Katrina, yes.
Well, I'm back, and
good.
how do I do my Chiron here?
Right. So, if you say that on the hard drive, I'm sure Katrina will do this.
Okay, hello.
Hello.
This is where we're going to sort out the lower thirds on our screens. If you go then to the left-hand side of the screen to install the Google Toolbox.
My notes. I need my notes.
Every time you.
Okay, yes, Hangout Toolbox.
Yep.
All right.
And then if you go to, it's on the first, it's the little silhouette piece.
It's not supposed to be backwards like this.
Custom overlay.
Huh. Hold on a second. Let me see. Oh, I see. Never mind. Hold on.
Larger piece. We've got a couple of things already. Thank you very much indeed for taking part. Do please share the Hangout link. Let everyone know that we are live. We're going to be going live to everyone in about 3 minutes' time. Yes, you're very, very lucky not to have seen what we just saw a couple of minutes ago, because Katrina went to get her cup of tea in her very, very nice Force Awakens mug. At which point her cat decided to go on top of the keyboard and show everyone its bum.
Oh no! I'm sorry, Tony's kind of a diva. So.
I was pretty surprised that it didn't decide to sort of like go live on us. So like just hit the live button or just.
Oh no!
No, I want to show everyone my bum.
If it's a computer, he's gonna want to sit on it. It's weird.
Leak as well. I know what you mean, Russ.
I'm sorry, you guys.
How you doing, Russ?
I'm doing all right. I'm.
Oh, there you go. I think you created your own there. There you go.
It's backwards.
No, it's okay. It shows up okay on screen.
All right,
oh, okay, good.
Yeah. I think Katrina had hers up for a second as well.
I had mine. It's saying no overlay selected.
Oh.
I had it for a second. Oh my gosh.
Cat's deleted it.
That wouldn't be surprising, really.
Really? 1 second, I'm gonna... Oh, goodness. Okay, I've got a minute left. Okay.
Yes, the other thing that I'm going to kind of ask my guests as well, to have a quick look round. You have a minute to have a look around and find
toolbox. Where's my toolbox? There it is.
In the house.
Pardon me?
Your favorite piece of Star Wars merchandise, or your favorite piece of Star Wars.
My favorite lightsaber is at a friend's house right now, so I'll just use my Darth Vader one.
Favorite lightsaber. When you have a favorite lightsaber, not just one lightsaber, you have a favorite of a selection of lightsabers.
I only have 3.
Yeah.
Worked really hard to earn them. I've gotten them all in like the past 2 years because I can finally afford to be an adult human who acts like a child.
Only have 3. I mean,
I got a couple of toys. Hold on. And my BB-8 is also at that friend's house. Ah!
My BB-8's at home as well. Yes, I do these broadcasts not from home.
Yeah.
My BB-8 is at home.
Well, I've got Poe, and I got my lightsaber, so we're good.
10 seconds, and we'll do a bit of an intro. Right. And if I go to that, it should bring me up on screen. There we go. Hello there, everybody. Welcome along to Talking Comic-Con. I might as well do the full intro and everything. Yes, welcome to Talking Comic-Con, a cup of tea with an Englishman in San Diego. It is the 13th of December 2015, and we are going to be talking a little bit of con news. Myself and Alyssa are going to do a little bit of a chat about some things that have happened this week, certainly in terms of a certain petition that kind of did the rounds, and also we'll talk about the other chat that's been taking place on the Friends of CC forum as well. But it's all about Star Wars. Hopefully you are. I mean, I've got my Star Wars T-shirt, and I know I've worn this before on the Hangout before, but this is my favourite Star Wars T-shirt, my Wookiee the Pooh T-shirt. So I've got my Star Wars T-shirt on, and I'm certain that my guests today have also got theirs or other accoutrements on. Let's go through the guests and let's find out who's front and centre. We have Alyssa Franks from the Friends of CC forum joining us. Hello, Alyssa. How are you?
I'm well. I am without Star Wars T-shirt. I went through my entire collection of T-shirts, and I do not own a Star Wars shirt. Okay. I just bad geek. That's all I can say. So
there's the woman with framed Daredevil art on her wall. And, yeah.
Exactly. You know, I've got Green Lantern, Daredevil, Spidey, The Watcher. You know, all of it. Professor X. No Star Wars.
I would never ever call you a bad geek ever. So thank you very much indeed for joining us, Alyssa. How's things been happening on the forum so far as we head towards the festive season?
A slow week on the forum. A lot of talk of. I've been personally paying attention to building a computer thread and exercising, and people are getting ready for Star Wars. There is a thread on there right now about, and a question I'll pose to everybody later on, to 3D, to IMAX, or to just go regular. What is your choice?
Yes, we'll bring that up as well because yes, I have a little bit of a bragging right to kind of run this on this hangout.
Oh, really?
So thank you very much indeed for joining us, Alyssa. We also have two very special guests who are joining us today. We have ourselves Katrina Dennis from Movie Pilot who's joining us. Hello, Katrina. How are you?
Hello. I'm good. I'm very excited. I'm trash today. I'm Star Wars trash completely. I have my Her Universe Darth Vader sweater on, and I'm drinking out of my First Order Stormtrooper cup. I went for hot chocolate, not tea, because I'm a child. And I have my Master Replica Vader saber here, and also Poe Dameron, but I don't know. There he is. Yay. So I'm really excited for Star Wars, the space movie that's coming out.
I mean, one of these things is not like the others. I spot Poe Dameron fine, but it's mostly dark side. Katrina, you don't strike me as a dark side kind of person. You're far too happy.
Well, I don't know how the Jedi might have changed in the past 30 years, but conventional Jedi are not my style. They're like meanie faces, and they're like not good at dating, and I'm not cool with that. So I don't know. I'm a little bit of both, I think. But Poe Dameron would be a great captive for the dark side, I think. I think he'd do a wonderful job.
Excellent. Okay, we'll be talking about how excited you've been getting very shortly indeed. But we have somebody who I'm really happy to have joined us because we kind of got a fleeting glance at him at New York Comic Con because we were hoping that he was going to give us his take on what he saw at NYCC, except you were found in a press room at the time. This is Russ Burlingame from comicbook.com. How are you doing, Russ?
Not too bad. Yeah, our Supergirl room got moved around a little bit that day, and it was one of those moments where I'm sitting there, I'm waiting for James Olsen, and you guys rang me up, and I was like, damn, oh, I totally had forgotten that when my time got shifted, it was going to affect the fact that I was coming on.
How's things been on movie? Because I know that at comicbook.com you do mostly deal with obviously the comic book movies and also well, new comics as well. But how much traffic has been going on so far about Star Wars and what's been?
It's a lot. The thing actually earlier today is that we have an assignment spreadsheet. So I come in at the beginning of the day and I see what's on there, what's important, and what's just kind of waiting to be done. And it's just like I've been intentionally trying to stagger my writing so that every single story isn't Star Wars, because we have, I think, 30 things on the spreadsheet and 21 of them are Star Wars or something like that. It's just nonstop. In fact, the comicbook.com has started a separate Facebook account just for their Star Wars posts, so that way people who aren't there for Star Wars news can see something else at some point.
Well, I can imagine there's been a lot of chatter about X-Men Apocalypse.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, actually, you should talk about how...
15 hours still in the top 5, top trending on Twitter.
Yeah, well, and of course we have her Poe Dameron is actually kind of apt, because Apocalypse is definitely a dark side dude.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
I've been kind of seeing mixed reports about the X-Men Apocalypse. What's your take on it been? Have you enjoyed it? I
did enjoy it. Here's my thing, and I posted this to Facebook shortly afterwards. I'm terrible at Twitter. It looked really epic in scale, and it looked like it incorporated enough of the mythology that it's going to please a lot of the fans. However, nothing about it struck me as exceeding Days of Future Past in any meaningful way. And so I think that probably, like, Days of Future Past was kind of a pleasant surprise. You had a couple of failures, and then you had First Class, which was a good movie, but it didn't explode. And Days of Future Past blew everybody away with kind of its ambition and its scope and all of this stuff. And I feel like Apocalypse, I don't know how you go one step higher than that without incorporating more of the larger Marvel universe that Fox doesn't have the rights to. But I feel like the obligation of Apocalypse was to try and find a way to do that, and based on this first trailer, they just haven't quite made it.
Okay. Well, I mean, I looked at it and I was a bit disappointed just how much plot they were revealing in that particular trailer. But I mean, obviously, 15 hours later, it's still in the top 5 trending, and obviously, it's going to be a massive hit. So looking forward to more X-Men Apocalypse when that starts dropping. Right, it is a roundtable affair, of course. If you do want to jump in on any of the topics that we're going to talk about, any of your favourite Star Wars memories, what you've got lined up in terms of how you're going to see Star Wars, are you going to see it first couple of screenings, or are you just going to hold off for a couple of weeks, let everyone kind of, let the kids get out of the way and sort of like have a nice quiet screening, or are you just going to get straight in and watch it? Let us know. Tell us how you're going to be watching it as well. And we've also got, between now and when we wrap up the Hangout, a bit of a prize to give away. What we're doing is, a little bit later, we're going to be talking about our favourite piece of Star Wars merch that we have to hand. I've asked my guests to kind of have a look around and see what they can pull from the shelves to show us their favourite piece of Star Wars merch. But you could win your own on the Hangout. And how you do that is by tweeting us, or going to the Google Plus event and actually adding a photo of your personal favourite piece of Star Wars merchandise. It could be a T-shirt, could be a mug like Katrina's, it could be a poster, it could be anything related to Star Wars that you treasure most dearly. What I want you to do is take a picture. You don't even have to attach Englishman SDCC, just use the hashtag #CupOTSDCC. That's that up at the top of the screen. Send us your favourite piece of Star Wars merch. And what you can get in return for doing that is this. This is Empire magazine. This is their latest issue. They did a whole bunch of 3D lenticular covers, which were very pretty, including a very nice subscribers cover as well with C-3PO and R2-D2. But they also got in contact with Kenner Toys and did this. It's a full issue of Empire. This is unopened. It's as pristine as I can keep it. But as you can see on the cover there, you have a figure of Kylo Ren, the big baddie from The Force Awakens. So what I want you to do is kind of like merch for merch. I will give this away to a lucky viewer today. if you can send a picture of your favorite piece of Star Wars merch that you have to hand, put it on Twitter. Like I say, you don't have to use any of the addresses. Just use the hashtag CupOTSDCC. We'll look through and pick one of our favorites, or you can also add it as a photo on the Google Plus event page. I think that's all set up, so you can do that as well. Either way, the best one, or the one that we quite like the look of, we'll all have a look and see if our favorites. You could be walking away with that, which is the Empire. Oh, by the way, just to let you know, this is limited edition as well. This was produced. There's only 4,500 of these. Only available in the UK, made available in the Sainsbury's store, of which I managed to get a couple. So this is one of those. So there you go, with Kylo Ren on the cover. Kenner, limited edition, Empire magazine. This competition, by the way, is not in association with Empire magazine at all. I'm just giving this one away if you want to win that. Right, let's jump in, and I suppose the best place to start with Star Wars is right at the beginning. Our favourite Star Wars memories, and indeed where we first kind of like got into Star Wars. Obviously, we have one of our guests who is slightly younger than the rest of us, and therefore may have a slightly different take on how she got into Star Wars. But I think I'll start with Alyssa. I mean, what was your first exposure to a galaxy far, far away?
My father, my biological dad, who is deceased, was a hardcore science fiction fan. So I was brought up around stacks and stacks of science fiction books, Asimov, Clarke, Pohl, you know, all of the classics. And he was also a projectionist. So when he came home and insisted that we all, because I spent my summers with him, when he came home and insisted that we all go out to the theater, I knew that it was different, because he was always poo-pooing all of the movies. They never really did much for him, but he insisted that we all come and see this one during, I think it was like the first day, or the first day or two of the showing. So when you posted the I was there when it first aired, I'm getting that T-shirt. That's on my list, for the first showing. So that was my experience with it. It's just huge shout out to all of the old school science fiction people who got to see the vision of Lucas and Spielberg with that first movie, because it really just blew it wide open. Star Trek did it on the small screen, but Star Wars just made it a cultural just force to use, if I can coin the phrase.
I suppose it's an old discussion as well. I mean, I know you're a massive science fiction fan. Do you see Star Wars as science fiction, or do you see it as the fairy tale that George Lucas intended it to be?
It's a combination of both. It really is the classic J. Scott Campbell's mythos of a young person who is full of vim and vigor and knows how the world should be, the classic teenage who wants to get out there and change the world, and comes into this stark reality of what real life is about, and then overcomes that. And that's a classic myth that Lucas was able to portray, and has been portrayed many times in the past, and will be portrayed many times in the future. So it's simply using that story and putting it into a science fiction form in a way that we can all imagine and enjoy. So I see it as being both. It's just a different take on it.
It's a nice little marriage of the two, I can imagine.
Oh, absolutely. I love it. I mean, I love the classic stories, retold with a different take on it. That's why I'm so interested in what JJ does with this, because he did fabulous work on re-envisioning Star Trek a few years ago, and I'm fascinated to see. I have high hopes. I love JJ. Anyway, who doesn't? So we'll see.
if we go to somebody who I think would be the only one out of the four of us that Eva was so excited to find out what the new Star Wars was going to bring, she did a very enthusiastic trailer screening video. Katrina, you can kind of look embarrassed as much as you like, dear, but that was one of the funniest 3.5 minutes I've ever seen on YouTube. In tears. So, I mean, when was the first time you kind of like got into Star Wars? I mean, what was your first experience?
So Star Wars used to rerun almost every single day on Sci-Fi Channel when I was younger. So I had known the series pretty much my entire life, but I don't think my fandom really began when they did the remastered versions and they released them in theaters. And Return of the Jedi came out on my 7th birthday. I think that was like a big one. Is like it came out on the 7th, and it was my 7th birthday, and it was Return of the Jedi. And so that was my first big Star Wars experience, and like everything changed. Everything does change when you see it on the screen for the first time. I mean, for the generation that kind of came in between like the prequel kids and the original kids, like that's where I sit. I was born not a few years after Indiana Jones wrapped up, so. It was incredible. It was the most incredible experience of my life, and that's really what turned on my Star Wars fandom. And then from then on, like I asked my dad to go to the library so we could get all the EU books, and I read like all of them, every single one of them. That I think up until about like 2003 was where I like fell off, and like I missed Legacy and all that great stuff. So I went back and read it recently, which is great. But yeah, since then it's just been nuts, and like. With my job in the media and with the freelance reporting and work that I do, I've gotten to do a lot of really closely involved things with Star Wars, especially over the past 2 years. So it's been a roller coaster of fun.
I mean, what you say when you were 7 when you went to see that first time round? Jedi. That's a hell of a film to kind of go into.
Oh yeah, it like kicks off with Princess Leia rescuing her boyfriend. I was like, oh, I'm so about that. Let's do this. Like, I'm all about it.
Okay, that's a good question. I mean, certainly from someone who remembers. Oh, so like you say, you saw them on the small screen, but then you kind of saw the remastered, and then you saw the prequels. Which order do you watch them in? Saga.
I've been watching them in release order for the longest time, and I only tried the 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 6 order recently, and I don't know. I don't think I have much of an opinion on it. I think I didn't watch it with like the right people because they'd already seen it like a billion times in every single order, so it didn't make that much of an impact on me. But I like this supercut. This particular supercut of the prequels called "Turn to the Dark Side," and it's pretty much like the best summary of everything that happens without like all of the fluff in between. So I usually watch that sometimes. Clone Wars is where it's at. If you want good prequel era stories, Clone Wars is where it's at.
Excellent. And I suppose with I was going to say with Russ. Because the one thing I was going to pick up on was what Katrina was saying there about when you kind of like take your fandom of the films and then go into the expanded universe. Did you actually do any of the expanded universe stuff, or was it all just about the films for you?
I came to the expanded universe pretty late. Like I, excuse me, I really enjoyed Brian Wood's Star Wars, which was the very last kind of Dark Horse major release prior to everything reverting to Disney, and as a result of that, I went back and I started exploring some of that stuff. And there's just a lot of people who are involved, especially with the comics, who are people I'm already an existing fan of. From Jan Duursema, who I remember from things like X Factor, and so I was already a big fan of hers, and I didn't know she'd even done Star Wars until afterwards. I think my favorite expanded universe story, and I would even say I like this better than the TV stuff, so it's probably my favorite outside of the original trilogy, is the Tag and Blink Are Dead.
I love that series. Yes.
Which just was genius. and so I came to it kind of very late and then worked my way back through, and I've still got miles and miles of it that I've never touched yet, because by the time I even became interested, Marvel came on and was doing their thing. And so it's funny because as great as what Marvel's doing is, I've got this little bit of a chip on my shoulder because it's just kind of like through my own stupidity, but because I really didn't even begin to be interested in the Dark Horse stuff until it was essentially too late.
Mm.
The one thing I'm always fascinated about with the expanded universe, because it's the one thing I never got into. I was all about just the films. If it wasn't on the cinema screen, then it wasn't kind of Star Wars to me. Although I did read the Dark Empire run from Dark Horse, which is just absolutely incredible. I think the other thing about the expanded universe for myself as well is very because if you don't know, I also work as a DJ, and that means I've had to kind of go into music and sort of explore the background of bands. When you, as a DJ, are faced with something like Pink Floyd, or so like one of those big bands with the massive catalogue, Bob Dylan, kind of almost shy away because there's just almost too much of it. And I kind of saw that with the expanded universe as well. I didn't kind of delve in because there was so many books and there's so many web pages and there's so much about Star Wars. Do you think that with the new film Force Awakens, and indeed with the deal with Marvel and Disney, it is a case of a kind of condensing of it, so it's a little bit more of a structured story? What does everyone think?
Go on. Sorry.
Oh, sorry.
I think for now it's a lot easier to get into the stories, but what they're doing on purpose is keeping storylines that if you went into the movies and you didn't know those storylines, they're purposely keeping it so that you can be apart from that. But I don't know. I think continuing on into the new expanded canon, I think there's going to be a lot of really good essential stories, and there are a lot of really good essential stories already. So I like the way they're setting it up. It feels like they're not taking too many risks yet, but I think it's just because they haven't seen how the movie's done, which is going to do great. So.
Yeah. Have you seen anything in the expanded universe so far? The new canon. Let's go that way. Is there anything that's kind of like jumped out at you so far? Because you've been reading.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there was this one crucial moment, and it actually exists in both Darth Vader and the Star Wars canon. And again, it's not essential to the stories, but it was one of those moments in storytelling where I really felt like the Marvel comics added to what goes on in the movies. It's this one, and I don't want to spoil it because I want you guys to read it so bad. It's in issue 6 of both stories. It's the end of the first arc of each story, and it is this moment that makes Empire Strikes Back like so. It was already huge. Now it's just like, wow, I can't believe like this is the amalgamation of what happens because of this moment. So yeah, it's crazy. I love it. So yeah, definitely.
You were about to say, Russ?
Well, I was going to say, if I may, I think that's what was missing to my mind. And I don't know because I didn't really follow a lot of it. But for a long time, I think that's what was missing from the expanded universe in general. Because to me, and then kind of the same reason I don't get as bent out of shape about the prequels as a lot of people do, Star Wars to me feels kind of like a moment frozen in time. Mm-hmm. And everything outside of those 3 original films has never quite penetrated it for me. And so when I read the expanded universe stuff, oftentimes I took that as a failure on the materials part because it didn't make me reimagine, say, Empire the way that you're talking about. Like, it didn't change my perception of the story. And if it didn't change my perception of the story, then how important could it really have been, if that makes sense?
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it's interesting that you point that out. And I agree. I know what you're talking about at the moment, and I agree to a great extent, probably not quite as enthusiastically as you, but
sorry.
No, it's a good thing. But I mean, I think it's interesting the way that this kind of reboot / new canon has worked is that it seems to be addressing people like me directly.
Well, when you talk about then the kind of you find that the original trilogy is like encapsulated then. So what's your perception been so far of the news about the Star Wars? And I'm sorry, but it's the Star Wars anthologies. I like that title. A Star Wars story doesn't hit it for me. The Star Wars anthologies I like. So I mean, the Rogue One film. I mean, how excited are you about that, Russ?
I'm really excited about that, actually. And you know, I think part of it is the fact that for years the expanded universe existed as something, and especially like you said, if you came to it and there was already this kind of girth of material, and it was just incredible. It existed, to my mind, for people who were hardcore fans and for whom Star Wars was their singular fandom. Which, as much as I love Star Wars, has never really been me. That was never my one thing. And so I feel like between the anthology movie and the changing of the way that they're doing the new canon, you're doing a lot of this thing where you're opening the universe, the larger universe beyond just the films, to casual viewers, which probably is going to alienate some people who have been around for a long time and who actually have cared and paid attention to the stuff for longer. But to people like me who, like, I would like to know more, but I just didn't have the energy or the motivation or the will to read 75 books, it's engaging.
I can understand that. To bring Alyssa into this, because Alyssa has... I'm trying to remember, how old is your son?
He's 16 and has never really gotten into Star Wars. He's followed me, and unfortunately, or fortunately, liked Trek a little bit more than Wars. So he's always been kind of, he loved, I tried Tags and Bank, tried to get him into the books and bought him all of the Dark Horse anthologies when he was growing up. But he's agreed to go with me to on Friday, mostly because I also agreed to give him money to spend at Hot Topics, I think.
You have to bribe someone to go and see Star Wars. Now, okay.
They have great deals going on right now, by the way, 30% off.
Yeah, exactly. So it's brutal. I'm feeling extremely left out. Everybody's has these massive plans for Thursday and Friday night, and I'm sorry to sidetrack the conversation here.
Cool. Well, I mean, I think the reason why I brought him up is because the one question that I've been asking pretty much ever since the film came out, who are these films actually for? Because obviously there's a lot of nostalgia. There's 40-odd years worth of film history from 1977 onwards. So I was trying to work out who the Force Awakens is actually for. Is it for people who know and love Star Wars, or is it for people who perhaps haven't really seen it?
No. I really believe that it's to reinvigorate the Star Wars universe in a similar way that J.J. was able to do with the Star Trek universe. That's what I firmly believe, that it breathes new life into it. I mean, here we are talking about all of the marketing, the amazing marketing that's going on, and it's created this huge economic engine in pop culture right now, and I think that and interest. So that's, in my opinion, that's been the motivation for just reimagining the universe.
Sure. We were talking
and
about...
I shouldn't say reimagining, because I know that there's a lot of canon, and that's not, as Katrina goes and puts her cat out.
Yeah.
Sorry, okay. I'm completely distracted. Shiny squirrel, and I'm gone.
That's a way of doing that. Cats have a way of just distracting you. That's fine.
I'm really sorry. He was being really loud, and my roommates are sleeping, so I just had to let him in so that he wouldn't wake them up.
Okay, I mean, you were talking there, but you're going on Friday and Saturday. What is everyone's kind of plans for that first screening? Russ, is there any press screenings, or are you going to be joining everybody else?
There is a press screening, but it's in LA, and our editor-in-chief, Lucas Siegel, is actually going to be there.
Lucas! Woo! Sorry.
He has a fan.
Lucas is my bro. Love Lucas.
He's been doing this forever. He and I used to work together at Newsarama, and so, but he is a huge Star Wars guy. Like when I say I love Star Wars, but it was never my specific fandom, it is absolutely Lucas's.
Mm-hmm.
And so
I couldn't get that from the name.
Yeah, believe me, he makes that joke about once a week because in the course of covering the 75 Star Wars stories that we cover. But yeah, he did the Star Wars press day, and he's going to be going to an early screening, and then we're all going to ostracize him so that he doesnn't tell us anything for 3 days afterwards.
I can imagine there's a lot of people who's going to be kind of staying away from social media from about Wednesday onwards. So when are you going to go see Star Wars?
I think probably Saturday, just because I have one of my best friends from high school is going on Saturday, and I have an aversion to going to these things when there's a billion people. And so for me, it's kind of like Logan said, "Oh, come on, we'll go, we'll make it a social event," and I can justify the crowd. And also, my site being my site, I more or less know the chances are very, very good I'm going to get spoiled anyway between Tuesday and Thursday. And so if I don't know the ending by Thursday, I might break down and go the opening day. I don't think that's likely, unfortunately, and in that case, I'll go Saturday, and I'll just shut up and won't spoil it for you guys.
I mean, we were talking about this on an episode last week. It's been a bit of a strange week. Listen might have to remind me. We actually had a conversation about the press ramp up for Force Awakens and just how much there's been of it so far. So I mean, can you imagine that people can keep their mouths closed in the first week?
I have a hard time believing, once the screening ends, even with everybody under embargo, there's been some success at getting people to behave themselves and not spoil major things. So I think we still won't know, say, what happens with Luke. But I think the odds are very, very good that some of the things that are Force Awakens specific and that aren't like franchise, I think the Luke stuff will stay secret. Will the true identity of the ultimate leader stay? I'm not totally convinced it will, because I think that there will be people who want to go out and talk, and they're going to trade off the lesser of two evils, and they're going to say, like, oh, well, if I don't blow the thing that people have been waiting for 30 years, then I can blow other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if if Lucas does actually decide to do his own personal Luke is Vader's son moment, we can just kind of criticize and hoist him up by his own petard at some point.
I'm positive he won't. I just think that social media in general. Lucas is the kind of guy who has been trying to pawn off as much of, because there's two kinds of coverage. There's when you're doing interviews and you're doing first-hand reporting and real kind of journalism work. And then there's the kind of the link blogging and sharing and analyzing the trailers, and there's the stuff that we all have to do. But it isn't really, it doesn't require expertise. It just kind of requires that you're paying attention. And Lucas has been trying his best to hand all of that stuff off to other people so that he can see as little as possible while still doing his job.
Well, that's another question. Then we'll do that very, very quickly. Then, what was the last trailer that you saw?
The last trailer I saw, and I've only seen probably about, I don't know, maybe a quarter of them, because most of the time when I have to post a trailer, say, I will watch it for 15 seconds and then say, Lucasfilm has released a new trailer, it focuses on character X, blah, 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 and just go. And reveal basically nothing, and that way I've revealed very little to myself. I did watch one in full today, but it was in Portuguese. And that was mostly because my boss had told me, oh, when you post this one, use this particular bit of footage for the header graphic, because that's a new shot of Han. And I said, okay. And then I start it, and it's Portuguese. And I said, all right, well, I guess I don't have to just skip through and look for Han. I can probably do Portuguese.
Excellent. Where are you going to go see it, Katrina?
I'm going to go downtown. Actually, I'm going downtown today to around the same spot. I'm going to see it at LA Live. I got the 7:30 showing because the tickets went on sale 2 hours earlier than they were supposed to, and I had to fight for that. So that was crazy. It's probably one of the only times I'm going to do that for a movie. But yeah, it was. I'm going to go to that with a couple friends. I've been by the line Awakens right now, which is pretty cool. They're lining up, and for like every hour they line up. I think there's like a charity, Give Actually, that sponsors them being there and will donate in their name. So it's been crazy preparing for it. But in short, yes, I'm seeing it at LA Live.
Awesomely cool. Really, really sweet. Excellent. And how have you been kind of keeping the whole thing fresh for yourself? Have you been trying to stay trailer free?
I actually switched.
Taking it all in.
I actually switched jobs last week. I started a brand new job. I left my senior editor position at Movie Pilot to do community management, and I'm still writing on the side. But it's been really easy to stay away from that stuff because I can just avoid it. And I think I'm just going to go on a social media blackout. I think on the 16th is when you guys get it over the river. Yeah, so I'm going to not trust any of you guys. And I'm just not going to be on social media. I'm going to play Star Wars Uprising for like an entire day. And I've got Battlefront. I have other TV shows. The Flash. No, wait, that's on hiatus. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'm going to figure it out.
Supergirl's on Monday.
Supergirl, there we go. Don't have to deal with other stuff. I can just watch Supergirl.
I have not been seeing Supergirl. I saw the first pilot episode. I haven't seen it since because I've been a little bit busy. But I did see the clip where a character revealed himself to be another DC Comics character, which was
it just got really good, really good.
As for myself, yes, like you say, we are going to be getting it a little bit early, obviously with the time zones generally. So yes.
Loose lips sink starships, Leonard. Just remember that. Loose lips sink starships.
Yeah, and you've got more sort of like intercontinental missiles than we do. So we will keep it quiet. But I'm also going to be seeing it even earlier because I am actually attending a midnight screening at the Sheffield IMAX. So on Wednesday night. So at 12:01 or 12:05. I will be diving into Star Wars Force Awakens. I'm actually extremely excited about this particular screening because I don't know if anyone caught the interview with J.J. Abrams talking about what he feels is the optimum screening of the film, because he has shot some sequences in IMAX. Hopefully Jakku, that would be rather cool. But he was then talking about the best presentation of the film. And he said probably the best way to see it is the laser IMAX projection, which is available, of which there are only 2 in the UK, and that's London and Sheffield. And I only found out yesterday, so I'm an extremely happy bunny. Very much looking to see what the optimum viewing of The Force Awakens is going to be, although admittedly my seats are all the way over to the left because it was the only one we could get hold of at that time. But that's fine. We've got 1 or 2 people on the Q&A. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. We've got Robert Udham who's watching. He's going to see the first IMAX showing here in San Diego on Thursday, and then on Saturday night there's a lightsaber fight downtown.
Yes.
Only in San Diego.
Actually. We have one in LA too. Sorry to steal your thunder. We have a giant lightsaber battle on the 19th.
The thing is, I mean, like you say, the lightsaber that you showed at the beginning, of which, by the way, I don't know if you caught it before we went live on the Hangout, when we turned around and said, what kind of merchandise have you got to have, Katrina turned around and said, well, I've only got one of my lightsabers here. You've got one of many lightsabers. You know that.
Not many, only 3.
I mean, that's a pretty expensive. People who are taking these $100 plus lightsabers out to a lightsaber fight. I mean, I'm just remembering the behind the scenes of when Alec Guinness was taking on David Prowse and sticks were getting broken left, right, and center. I can just picture decimated piles of lightsabers all over the place.
There's special like lightsaber brands that make them like specifically for fight. Like this is a master replica. You don't want to fight with this. It's a collectible. But then there's like Ultra Sabers, and they make their blades so that you could just beat the crap out of them, and it won't matter.
Cool.
So if you go buy a $100 lightsaber, buy one made for fighting, not a nice, pretty one like that.
Excellent. We've got ourselves a couple of others jumping in on the Q&A as well. Rhonda Linders is watching. Craig Craig Linders is a regular viewer as well. Craig got a Star Wars lightsaber pen when the wife bought new boots. Even Payless is in on the keep. So yeah, I mean, there's lots of bits and pieces floating around. I mean, I don't know if this is. Well, I'll open this up to all of my guests, and because especially in the US, I don't know if it's any different. But it really has seemed that Disney has seen that $4.5 billion check that they signed out, and then just decided we're going to license Star Wars to anyone who walks through the door. What's your supermarkets or your malls like at the moment? Is it just wall to wall?
Sometimes it's spotty. Like you go, oh, that is great.
Yeah,
Forever 21 just got a big boost.
Oh my goodness. You back at Crocs?
Yes. Even. It's everywhere.
Wow.
As you were saying.
It's getting to the point where I walk into my local, so like Asda, Tesco supermarket here, and it's every single aisle. When you see kind of like cheese squares, which are branded as Star Wars, you do know that something is just kind of like looking. They're just selling the license to anything that moves.
It's funny you just brought that up because I just retweeted a photo of packages of oranges with just BB-8 branding on the outside. So, and it was like Austin Braun posted and he said, "Disney, calm down."
Okay, I'm gonna let Russ talk for a second. I mean, what have you spotted out there that's just kind of blown your mind in terms of licensing?
Well, I mean, the thing that I had seen, and it's funny because it blew up and became a very visible product placement, was the Coffee Mate creamers.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd seen them at the supermarket about a week before Comic-Con. And then when we went to Comic-Con, the press room was inundated by them. And I believe this was New York, not San Diego.
Mm-hmm.
The press room was like, they had fixtures, they had displays, and all this. It was like, hey, everybody, make sure you know all of your free creamer is coming from Star Wars.
Yep.
And that one I thought was one of the odder ones. I think the weird thing, because I live in the suburbs, and most of my shopping ends up being done either at very small local places that don't have toys and things, or at box stores of some kind. And so it's harder for me to tell the difference between now and 6 months ago until it gets to something really odd like oranges or creamer, because Star Wars is kind of omnipresent anyway. Like, you know, if you go to a box store, they have an aisle of Star Wars toys no matter what the status of the films is.
Okay, I mean, that's the next thing I wanted to kind of like talk about then, in terms of that omnipresence and the impact on pop culture, and the fact that it almost very nearly didn't happen. If you look back in Star Wars history, back in 1977, well, back in 1975 when Lucas was pitching the film around all the studios, only 20th Century Fox took up the mantle to produce the film. And if it wasn't for people like Charles Lippincott, who attended San Diego Comic-Con in '76 and '77, it's very possible that Star Wars wouldn't have been the impact, or wouldn't have had the impact that it had. I mean, at San Diego Comic-Con there used to be a thing, and I don't know when it kind of stopped or when it kind of started. There used to be the Force Fridays, I mean, what's been your favourite convention experience when it comes to Star Wars? We'll go to Alyssa. What's been your favourite thing that you've come across?
Yeah, you talk history and bringing how Star Wars got started in '77, and at that time there was really just a void of anything in mainstream for science fiction. It was really looked down upon. But fast forward to your question, a favorite memory. I don't have any from pre-2000 memories of Star Wars at all. My favorite was last con at the Star Wars panel and the symphony with the screening. That was brilliant. That took place at San Diego. So Star Wars to me has never really been a part of conventions.
I always think of the clip in the aptly named Star Wars: A Fan's Hope. Comic-Con: A Fan's Hope, the documentary, where you had the comics retailer turning around saying, "Well, we'd like to get into Comic-Con because this is our house, but Lucasfilm just takes up the loading dock and just kind of like takes over Comic-Con and takes over this corner." What's been, say, Katrina? I mean, I know that you've covered Star Wars as well at a number of conventions. What's been your take on Star Wars at conventions, and what's been your favourite memory of it?
Well, I mean, Star Wars always has like a presence at conventions. You usually have, the Rebel Legion is always out. The 501st has their booths. Usually you get the droid builders out as well. So there's always like a presence. But this past year has just been everything. WonderCon, Star Wars Celebration itself was huge, and then at Comic-Con we had the giant Lucasfilm structure, which was amazing too. But I think, oddly enough, my favorite Star Wars memory this year was at WonderCon. There was a big gathering of just like costumers, and I didn't even know it was happening. I was just walking around in like my throwaway Han Solo costume, and I stumbled upon the Legion was there, the Saber Guild was there, the 501st was there, and everyone was just hanging out, and it was one of those nights that just reminded you of like what makes, and I hate to like go into like this fandom is so special because one isn't more special than the other, but what made the Star Wars fandom special was just this incredible sense of community where you just walked into that crowd and it was like, hey, what's up, da da da, and it was easy to make friends. So I think that's my favorite Star Wars memory, is hanging out with all those crazy kids in costume. I'm
just so, a little bit disappointed that I wasn't able to go to the concert and indeed to the screening, because I was too for the Saturday. I decided that for Star Wars for San Diego Comic-Con this year, I thought, you know what, I'm just going to go see the film. I can't imagine them doing anything too spectacular. It's fantastic that they're coming, and it's great that they're going to do a panel, but tell you what, I'm going to do the Saturday, I'll be fine. At which point you then hear about the symphony, you hear about everyone getting their lightsaber, and I would personally say that jealousy, Stephen rage jealousy is a terrible emotion, but it's one of these things that you have to kind of like embrace. So it's just oh, good grief. Thank you very much indeed for that, Alyssa.
You're welcome. Love you.
Yeah. I mean, what's been your take on this is to Russ now. Your take on Star Wars at conventions. Were you able to go to the San Diego one, or what have you been seeing?
No. I was more or less wall to wall press rooms and interviews this year. I don't think I went to any panels at San Diego this year because I was booked solid. My favorite element of it, though, and I certainly would have enjoyed attending something like that, which was a special and kind of unique experience. But I think that my favorite element of it typically is actually just talking with the fans and interacting with the cosplayers and things like that on the show floor. Because I've never gone to a major convention where I wasn't there for work. Like, I've never attended San Diego or New York or anything where I wasn't scheduled all day long.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, the strictly managed nature of all things Lucasfilm, it feels more artificial versus when you talk to fans and when you talk to the cosplayers and things like that, it's very organic and it's very personal. And it's kind of like what Katrina was saying about, like, you get a sense for what distinguishes these people from other fandoms, and you get a sense for what makes their connection to this property so special, that I don't think that I ever get when I go to, like, you know, the Disney or the Dark Horse panels that I've attended.
Okay. I suppose if we very quickly, I'll remind you about the competition that we're running, but we're also going to go to our guests and talk about our favourite piece of merch before we start talking about what we are expecting and what we're kind of looking forward to when it comes to The Force Awakens. Once again, in about 15-20 minutes or so, we are going to be giving away the Empire magazine, limited edition, 4,500 copies of these made with the Kylo Ren figure from Kenner on the front. So yes, please do send in your pictures to CupOTSDCC using the hashtag on Twitter, or indeed using the post on the Google Plus event. Do let us know what your favourite piece of merch to hand is, and we'll be picking out our favourite before the end of the hangout. So unfortunately, I don't do these hangouts from my house, so I don't actually have my personal collection to hand. I have a number of t-shirts. The one that I'm going to be wearing on Wednesday is the my personal favourite Star Wars t-shirt, which is the Beach Boys parody, where it's the stormtroopers walking along with surfboards, walking their dog, which happens to be an AT&T walker. It's my personal favourite t-shirt. It just happens to be my choice. But I don't actually have the bits and pieces I have. I don't, like I say, I didn't get into the expanded universe as such. I am massive into the comics, so I have most of the comics to hand, but I have a couple of lightsabers. They came as a pack, Katrina, before you give me any grief. So yeah, I do have a couple of lightsabers, but I don't have too much.
You didn't even ask me how I got my lightsaber, so whatever.
I don't have too much in terms of. Yes, I have the BB-8 Sphero. So there we go. But I don't have piles of Star Wars merch. I have something that I am going to show, but we'll go through the guests. I mean, what's your favourite piece that you've got to hand? We'll go to Alyssa first. What have you managed to find? Because you just showed your the lightsaber.
I've kind of done the two things that I really the lightsaber from the concert, which has just got personal significance to it for me. My Crocs, my Chewbacca Crocs, which are just too fun. It kind of, you know, freaks. I won't say. It's interesting to people who don't know me as the geek that I am, because they see those and they're kind of like going, "How come you're wearing those?" And I'm like, "You have no idea who I really am." But the other thing that I picked up recently has been some steel books of 1, 2, and 3, which I planned. We were talking a little bit ago about what we're going to be doing this week and going into the media cocoon of not listening to everybody. I am planning on watching 1, 2, and 3, or I should say 4, 5, and 6, because I don't really want to see the. Yeah. Anyway, so those are my current favorites. 3 things.
Well, that makes sense. I'm trying to decide. Well, what I've been doing to prepare myself is I've got the original soundtrack from John Williams. That's on my Spotify list, and I seem to be playing that an awful lot. Yes, I do have Lego Star Wars on my iPad. I've reloaded that thing, which on an iPad 2 is as laggy as hell, but I'm playing it anyway. It's awful. And also, yes, I am going to be watching all 6 films over the next 3 days. I'm watching two per day, and I might even live stream it. I don't know. I haven't decided yet. But okay, what have you got to hand, Katrina? What's your personal favourite piece of merch you've got to hand?
So currently my 2 personal favorites are not here. They're with my editor-in-chief because I left them at her place. But they're the Sphero BB-8 and my Ultra Saber Aeon LEV3. So I love them both. But I think that currently I would have to say this Vader lightsaber. I mean, it's beautiful. This is the Master Replicas lightsaber. It came out around prequel era when they re-released these. It has a stand. It's really cool, and it does everything that it should do. You know, so I like it. It's beautiful, and I'm pretty. Huh?
Apart from slicing walls and.
Yeah, you know, apart from the usual, everything is fine with it. Like I just love the detailing on it. Like there are little things that make this matter to me. So it's one of my favorite collectibles. And yeah, outside of that, I have a lot of little things. I don't have a really huge collection. My biggest collection of Star Wars things is my comic collection. And then I have most of the new era books, but most of the expanded universe and my other childhood things are still with my parents because I have not gone back to see them in a while. Whoops.
Fair enough. Well, we'll talk very quickly about the comics in a bit, because obviously it does lead into what we're expecting from the film. And to Russ, what have you got to hand? Is there anything you can reach out and go, here we go?
Well, yes and no. There are essentially three things, none of which I can physically put in front of my camera. Two of them are actually in bed with my son. And there's a reason for that, which is the biggest, like, the thing that I would say, yes, this is what I want to show, is actually very unremarkable, except that it's something he loves, which is it's a Return of the Jedi Chewbacca action figure.
Nice.
That had been sitting around here. This is actually my mother-in-law's house, and it had been sitting around here for ages. And my son found it out on the porch. It was under there was like a couch that was on the porch, and he found it under there. And he asked me what it was. And my son is autistic, and he doesn't typically he either becomes very obsessed with something or he doesn't care about it at all. And when he discovered this Chewbacca toy, he decided he loved Chewbacca now. He's still never seen Star Wars, and the only other Star Wars thing that he really, really likes is Lando. But nice. So in my son's, like, downstairs in bed with him, he has a Return of the Jedi Chewbacca with one leg and a Lando Calrissian with a badly discolored shirt. The thing that I would have, which is at my father's house, because it belongs to my father, but I'll see if I can show you this on a cell phone. It's a CED.
Oh.
Does anybody remember these?
I do.
Okay. For those who don't, it's about the size of a record album, and you would put it in the player, and it would make a satisfying chunk noise, and then you'd pull it out, and it would play the movie. And halfway through, you had to flip it over because they only stored about 40 minutes of data on any given side of the disc. And this is how I first experienced Star Wars. I saw them on. I did. My father insists that we saw Jedi in the theaters, but I have no recollection of it because I would have been 4. But I remember very distinctly watching them over and over again as a kid on these CED discs, which are these big things that like weigh a pound. That my mother once threw a pile of at a robber at night. And I have the version, the Jedi that I have at my father's house is signed by Tom Baker. Tom Baker.
Yeah.
Kenny Baker?
Yeah, Kenny Baker. Thank you.
Tom Baker, that would be ironic. That would be
yes.
beautifully ironic.
But no, he did a convention fairly locally, I think Syracuse, when I was 13. And I didn't find out about it until I was like leaving the house that he was there, and so I grabbed the first thing that I could find, which was the disc.
Wow.
And so it's this weird kind of artifact that it's like this is how I first experienced the films. I very distinctly remember wearing out, which if you've used a CED disc, wearing it out means watching it 3 times. But I very distinctly remember wearing out my Jedi disc because. When I was a kid, I remember loving the Rancor monster, and so it's a weird kind of keepsake that I have. And then the third thing, which was just kind of neat and very fresh, is and also in bed with my son, is at our local Syracuse soccer team football for Lenny.
Yeah.
And at the game this week, it was Star Wars night, and so they gave out lightsabers. And all day yesterday, my 3-year-old daughter and my 5-year-old son and my 22-year-old sister-in-law were chasing each other around the house with lightsabers.
Excellent. Well, I mean, some great memories. Obviously, some bits and pieces there which actually have some great memories for you. That's, I think, the great thing about Star Wars collecting and the Star Wars merch thing. In terms for myself, it's something which I had framed this week. I know that we usually try and keep it under an hour. I think we're only going to be about 10 minutes so, and then we'll get the Empire given away. But we are going to talk about the comics and about what we're expecting from Force Awakens. And the reason why I'm going to use it as a bit of a link is because of something I had framed earlier on this week. And I think Katrina might appreciate this.
Oh, nice!
So that will be the Star Wars triptych.
Nice.
Issue
That
1,
is awesome.
Princess Leia, Star Wars and Darth Vader, as drawn by Mr. Scotty Young, which I had framed up. I've got to find somewhere for these now. Yes, they are signed by Scotty. There's also, a couple of signatures on there from a couple of the colorists. I think I've got Mr. Kieran Gillen on. Yep, Kieran Gillen down there at the bottom of the Darth Vader. That's my thing, which is that's my favourite piece of merch at the moment. Trying not to show the reflection in the screen. The triptych of the issue 1s. Very quickly talking about the comics then, because there's a lot of these storylines which do kind of feed into now what is going to be actual canon. You've obviously talked about the comics, Katrina, in terms of the main core title and also the Darth Vader title as well. Have you? What else have you been reading in terms?
Oh, I read all of the comics. It's the one thing that I let myself keep up with. You know, it's starting to cut into my budget because there are now like 50 Star Wars comics on top of the normal subscriptions I have. But like I am enjoying a lot of them. Some of the mini series kind of like fall and trip along the way, but for the most part, I'm really loving it. I feel like Shattered Empire is, if you're looking for a Star Wars comic before The Force Awakens that you want to read because it like gives you a little insight, that's the #1 comic to go for. It's only 4 issues long, and it's a stellar story by some very iconic names.
Do you think that, I mean, if you haven't actually read Shattered Empire,
Yes.
It's actually set directly after the Battle of Yavin.
No, Return of the Jedi, Battle of Endor.
Battle of Endor, do apologise. Because it obviously is the series that leads or informs Force Awakens, because it also covers a couple that actually fought in the Battle of Endor in terms of the Damerons, whose intended child will then obviously later grow up to become Poe Dameron. But there was a couple of elements in that storyline which, are you interested in seeing? This is where I'm going to ask people to put fingers in their ears if you are wanting to avoid any mild. I'm just going to say 2 words: Force trees.
I think that Force trees might not be something that we see until the next movie. I think it's one of the things, like, I think whatever Poe's relationship with the Force is, I think that they're a key factor in it. But I really don't know how they'll use them. I mean, it could be one of those situations where it's like, we need a Force tree, and Poe's like, I've got one in my backyard. I've got this handled. Let's go. So on Yavin,
I'm just waiting to see a Force pigeon that's been eating the berries of the Force trees.
I don't know. I mean, do you need a special Force gardener? Like, does your gardener need to be Force sensitive?
It's the guy from Being There.
Yeah.
I do have a question, if I may. Since I haven't been following any of the comics at all whatsoever, I just looked up on Comixology, and they had a Shattered Empire. So you would recommend that for people who haven't been reading any of the comics, and it won't be a spoiler? Okay.
Yeah, it does kind of show you. I mean, the big spoiler in the comic is that the two main characters are Poe Dameron's parents, but outside of that, it just shows you what happens in the immediate months to this particular couple after Return of the Jedi. So it gives you a little bit of like, oh, this is kind of going to be in Force Awakens, like this character, but outside of that, it's a very singular story, and it gives you a lot of look at a good look at the context of where things are going politically, what's happening with Han and Luke and Leia without them being like the main characters of the series. So it's really good, and it's only 4 issues long, so you can get it done before the movie comes out.
Great. It's 17 on Comixology, and you can put it on your iPad so that you know, carry it with you. Okay, great.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
I was going to very quickly mention, and I'm trying to. Yeah, I think this is available generally. You may have to go to Marvel.com, but they're currently doing a introductory thing to their Marvel Unlimited. This is available for everyone who already had a subscription and perhaps let it lapse, or if you're brand new to Marvel Unlimited. I believe it's a 30-day trial to the entire Marvel catalog that's available on Marvel Unlimited, which includes the current titles for Star Wars. So do check them out. My personal favorite at the moment so far of the current run is Chewbacca. I'm very curious to see how that's going to wrap up, because it's brilliantly written, it's wonderfully drawn, and I'm a big fan of that particular book. I was a fan of Leia until Princess Leia, sorry, until it kind of started going. It started swimming sort of like in dead air. Unfortunately, it didn't quite fulfill the promise of the first issue, and I really enjoyed Lando once it got over that first issue, which is where Charles Soule started writing Shaft in space, which was very, very strange. But though yes, I would recommend the Star Wars titles. So,
I would say too, particular to Shattered Empire, Greg Rucka, who wrote it, not only is he a terrific writer, but he came up at a time in comics when there was more of an expectation that you understand people might not know everything. So typically, if you see Greg's name on a book, especially if it's something like a collection, you know, where you get all 4 issues at once, you should be fairly confident that you will be able to pick it up and understand it on its own merits.
Yeah, he has had his pen in so many different of my favorite stories, and he also wrote the Han Solo Jr. reader that came out. Smuggler's Run, I think. So that one I haven't touched yet. I did read the Leia one, but yeah, I'm absolutely looking forward to that. Greg Rucka is an incredible writer. If you're a Batman fan, he's like a god to you.
Yeah, his prose novelization of No Man's Land was really terrific, not only because it cut so much of the fat from the comics, but also because the introduction, which is not adapting anything from the comics, it's a letter from Barbara Gordon to her father in the case that she should die, is my favorite, probably my favorite writing ever of Barbara Gordon.
that's a bold boast.
That is really bold. That's great. But Record's amazing, amazing writing.
Barbara Gordon writers who I would would be recommending.
Calm down, everyone. It's okay.
Okay.
It's okay.
That's why I said I steer away from saying the best.
I think Katrina was knowing who I was going to mention, but no, I think.
Oh, of course.
Okay. Right. Well, I mean, I think we're all really excited, obviously, about Star Wars: Force Awakens, and I'd like to thank my guests for joining us today. Obviously, Alyssa's putting her hand out. Yes, we are going to talk about some of the non-Star Wars things in a second. But I just wanted to say thank you very much indeed to my two guests today, to Katrina. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. And yes, I really do hope you enjoy Star Wars Force Awakens, especially off the back of that the trailer reaction video.
I will make a reaction as I come out of the theater, and hopefully I won't be dead. So
please, if you haven't seen it already, go and search for Oh Katrina on YouTube and watch that reaction video, because it's just a thing of joy. So there we go. Where can people find you, and obviously find your reactions to Star Wars this week? Where can people find you online?
You guys can catch me on Twitter and Facebook as O Katrina. Just go ahead and search for that. You can also catch my writing on okatrina.com, fangirlnextdoor.com, and moviepilot.com/okatrina. And on YouTube, I'm youtube.com/okatrina, except the O is with a 0 because I have another account and I can't remember that password. So there you go.
Brilliant. Excellent. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. And again, thank you so much for finally coming on. And I really hope this is the first time of many. Russ, thank you very much indeed for your time.
Yeah.
Excellent. Oh, I think is your microphone on? Don't know. Yeah. So where can people find you online, Russ?
Primarily I'm at comicbook.com. I'm exclusive there, and I write probably 30 stories a day. And if you want to follow me on Twitter, it's at Russ Burlingame, as you see in the Chiron down there, just same spelling. My last name being tricky, I'll just point at that a lot. Facebook, I can't remember what the heck the name is on my quote-unquote professional page. So I'll say go to facebook.com/panel discussions, which is the page for my old podcast, which no longer exists, but I still update it with my actual writing.
Excellent stuff. By the way, if you do also want to see a truncated version of Russ's writing, I basically go and follow his page pretty much on an hourly basis, and that's what shows up on Englishman in San Diego. So if you just want to, if you want like a Russ Burlingame light, go to my website, because I just follow Russ, and that's where I go.
He doesn't have all the anger and the politics.
Thank you very much indeed. I know that you may want to get off and kind of do whatever else you need to do on a Sunday. Myself and Alyssa are going to talk.
Before they leave, people may want to check out, there's 60 Minutes is doing a segment on Star Wars tonight, and I have to believe that it's going to be pretty spoiler-free and pretty much just interviews with JJ. But that is going to be airing tonight, 7 o'clock Eastern Time. And I suspect 7 o'clock Pacific Time, too, although I don't understand the West Coast, so there you go.
Who does?
Yeah. I would never say that. I should never say that. Sorry.
Okay. Like I say, Alyssa and I are going to talk one or two bits and pieces beyond Star Wars. If you want to stick around, Russ, Katrina, you're more than welcome. But
I actually have to get down to the LA Live for the Target and Star Wars Galaxy experience, so I will be there.
I'm giving you an out.
After this show is over, check my Twitter, because I'll take you guys there. All right. Thank you so much for having me.
Not a problem at all. Thank you so much. And last but not least, the other thing that I wanted to do is give away this Empire magazine, which is the one with the Kylo Ren on the front. And we have a number of entries that have posted their favourite pieces of Star Wars swag. However, we have ourselves with the rather apt Twitter name of Admiral Chewie. Ian O'Hara has managed to tweet us a picture of what he considers his personal favourite piece of Star Wars-related merch to hand. And if I just hold that up to the camera and hope that I don't get too much glare and reflection, it's the Timothy Zahn range of the books that came out alongside his BB-8 Sphero. Isn't that? They are absolutely fantastic books. If you do get the chance to read them, that will be Heir to the Empire, Dark Force Rising, and Last Command. That from Timothy Zahn. I'm trying to work out if he's got them signed, but no, I think it's just a very nice collection, along his with his Sphero BB-8. congratulations, Ian. We are going to get that out in the post to you tomorrow. You've got yourself an Empire magazine kind of to add to your collection as well. Right, let's talk then, Alyssa, very quickly regarding something that came up in the news this week regarding a petition that's been started. Now, it's actually been started by a group called Keep Comic-Con in San Diego. There is actually a group on Facebook who we're both friends with, or we're both certainly aware of. Is there a petition affiliated with that at all, or is it a whole new collective that's put this together?
I don't recall. I read briefly about it, who the petition is from. The only thing I really remember is that it seems that it's a little confused, and it's confusing people. I know that David Glanzer addressed it a day or two ago, and said that it really is not going to have much of a bearing on anything. I think the reason why it sparked some confusion is because it was saying regardless of where the convention is going to be, it wants to remain, that they want it, the people who are doing the petition want it to remain in San Diego. So it didn't make much sense to me, but because CCI is going to do what CCI is going to do, and it's all boils down to what the hotels do, and if they keep their rates reasonable, CCI will stay in San Diego. And if there's some sort of a path towards opening up the city to CCI, I think CCI will stay. Those, to my understanding, those are the two big factors. And a petition, I don't think is going to do that much.
No. I found it very interesting as well. ComicConGuide.com actually did a post. Basically, the whole idea of the news of the petition did come about from our good friends at Official Blog, and they did kind of spread the word about this petition online. But there has been a number of revelatory bits and pieces, like I say, from Comic-Con Guide, considering that I'm very interested. It's the reason why I haven't really posted about it, because it has seemed very murky in about where this petition has come from. And ComicConGuide.com is acknowledging that the initiative and this the petition to collect signatures has actually been authored by Corey Briggs, who is the lawyer, who is the he's the lawyer that did the objection towards the expansion of the convention center, and also the legal wranglings about how to raise money for that. So it does seem that everyone is kind of muddying the water with this petition. I wanted to bring it up because it is Comic-Con news that we've had so far, and it just seems that it's a great way for people to keep the conversation going in terms of what to do with San Diego, in terms of the landscape of the city, about what the best course of action to do to allow Comic-Con to grow. But
I think the best thing, when David spoke up and said, it's the hotels, guys. I think that was the best. Just remember that we're trying to keep the hotel rates down so people can still afford to go to San Diego Comic-Con, and we don't have the $600 a night hotel rooms, which the corporates are willing, are welcome to pay, but us mere mortals can't quite afford.
Sure.
There were a couple of other things that happened this week that I thought was quite interesting. Just realizations that I had. Buffy. Batman vs. Superman is going to open the same week of WonderCon. Same weekend of WonderCon.
Really?
Unless I'm misreading something, unless which happens. So I'm going to be in LA for Batman vs. Superman. I can see Ross leaning forward to his keyboard going, that can't be right.
And so
I don't.
I just no, she's right actually. It's March 25th is the start date of WonderCon in 2016, and it's also when the film opens, according to my quick Google. I didn't know when WonderCon started this year.
Yep. So it's just, kind of one of those interesting little things. So all of the people who are on the fence about WonderCon, you may want to rethink it. Just saying, if you're a DC fan. The other thing is Childhood's End and Expanse, which is on the Sci-Fi Channel, is on Monday night. Just DVR alert, because Childhood's End, it's either going to be really good or really bad, and I'm going to end up throwing stuff. I don't know, but one or the other.
I'm a massive Arthur C. Clarke fan, I'm a massive sci-fi fan, and I am not a massive fan of downloading television shows illegally. I prefer to wait. There is no way in hell that I'm going to be waiting for this series, because I cannot wait. But then again, I've also been reading tweets regarding The Expanse as well. People are really flipping for that show.
They like it. Oh, nice! I haven't seen it. I didn't buy it. I haven't. I want to watch it when everybody else watches it. That was my thing with The Expanse. The Sci-Fi Channel, I don't know. I'm going out on a limb, but they may actually be getting their act together and do sci-fi again. Maybe. I'm hoping. But the January TV shows that I am seeing coming across my the preview screen, it seems like there's going to be a lot of new premieres happening in January, which I'm really looking forward to. It may actually keep me happy.
I'm very surprised about the strength of the series that are getting released now, kind of neck of the woods, at the very back end of the year. Expanse, Childhood's End, Man in the High Castle, which I still haven't gotten around to seeing. I haven't gotten around to seeing that yet, but there we go. It's very interesting that it's happening sort of like with only a couple of weeks to go of the year. It's interesting timing when people kind of are ramping down sort of like their programming for the mid-season breaks and that couple of weeks over Christmas, and then launching into the new year. It's interesting that it's happening this week. What have you seen so far on both The Expanse and Childhood's End, Russ? Have you been?
I haven't heard much on Childhood's End. The Expanse, I had seen the pilot that they sent out a screener link. Actually, it feels like a while ago, but it could just be that it's been a very long couple of weeks. But I really enjoyed it. Like I said, I had read, and I can't remember where, but I had read a piece somewhere that essentially said exactly what you did, Alyssa, that sci-fi seems to be rededicating itself to actually being sci-fi, because I think that they finally recognized, and I wasn't one of those people who was entirely opposed to the rebranding as long as they did something interesting, but I think that what they did is they just lost their sense of identity, and they didn't replace it with anything tangible, and so they became like everybody else, especially as geek culture expands, and all of a sudden you sit here and go, you had it built into your premise, and you got rid of that just as everybody else was trying to latch on.
Do you think it was more a case of also they just sort of went, okay, we've made Sharknado, we've made all this money from Sharknado, let's actually make some sci-fi now, let's draw a line?
I think that's definitely a possibility. I mean, you see that with the comic book publishers too. They'll do some big crazy event that makes them a bunch of money, and then 6 months later you see them do 3 or 4 really interesting books that take some chances. And I feel like there's a correlation there. It's not just that they're lazy for half the year and then they're really cool for the rest. It's that you bankroll your next big chance that you're taking by doing something safe and possibly not quite as beautiful.
That makes sense. It also, in that case, I will also turn around and say then in about 3 months' time, when all the Dark Knight 3 money comes in, then we really will be getting some interesting stuff from DC Comics, perhaps.
Yes, yeah, that's pretty much that's what I've been thinking. Just so it's been said, because I just told you guys about this on Twitter, and I'm getting blown up from my bosses. During the NFL game on Fox that's airing while we are doing this broadcast, the first trailer for Independence Day Resurgence apparently has aired on television. I haven't actually seen it yet. As soon as we get done here, I'm going to have to go scour the internet for it so that I can write a story.
In that case, that's where we'll draw a line on it, and we'll all go off and check that out, because no,
Yeah.
I didn't see that.
All right. Well, thank you guys for having me on.
So it's already aired?
Yes, it already aired during and I'm not even sure what football game. It's on Fox right now.
Well, I mean, I'm not that bothered about Go Sports Team, but I'm up for the trailer. So, thank you very much indeed for joining us, Russ. Thank you very much indeed for your time.
Thank you, guys. I'll see you soon.
Thank you, Russ.
Excellent.
Thank you.
And Alyssa, thank you very much indeed for joining us. Of course, people can find you on forum, yes?
Absolutely. Just PM me. I'm there all the time.
Excellent. Next week is going to be our last one of the year. We're going to do one more. It's going to be our pre-Christmas special, where we're going to talk about what bits and pieces we're going to be getting up to over the festive period, and of course any of the last-minute stocking fillers that we've found that we've bought for our nerd friends and family.
Plus our experience of what's the movie, Star Wars.
No, because there may be people who haven't seen it. Okay.
Well, we won't talk about the movie, but our experience.
Okay, we will do pocket reviews, little ones of Star Wars: The Force Awakens. Excellent. Hope you are going to go see the film. Hope you enjoy it. Hope you've enjoyed this hangout as well, where we've talked Star Wars a lot, and you can't say fairer than that for an hour or so. Thank you very much indeed for your time, and hopefully we'll see you for the last one of 2015, Talking Comic-Con, a cup of tea with an Englishman in San Diego. Take care. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday.
Bye-bye.